Hey everyone, welcome back to Chip Stock Investor. It's Nick and Casey.
Hey y'all.
We're talking about Figma today, and I hope this video gets at least half as many views as our first Figma video got.
Half, I think a tenth of the views would be pretty incredible.
We'd be satisfied.
It would be great for us, and it would be great for the sponsor of today's video.
Fiscal.ai.
As you know, when we did the original pre-IPO video on Figma, we said we used Fiscal extensively to take a look at the financials, but especially at that point, dig through the S1, the prospectus filing for Figma. And that is still very much relevant even today for a new company like this that has just IPO'd. Fiscal.ai can help you dig through and visualize all the financials, all of those SEC filings, earnings call transcripts, and more.
For example, using Fiscal.ai, you can make sure that you're looking at Figma and not Figs. Very different product.
That's not Casey being a smart aleck either. That's kind of a true story. Make sure you're looking at the right company.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, check out Fiscal.ai.
You can get 15% off any paid plan, including the enterprise plan for you pros out there. Fiscal.ai/CSI.
And we want to do this just to kind of let you know that we have not forgotten about Figma. After we did the pre-IPO review, and then all of the craziness that happened with the IPO itself. So we'll circle back to this. Just a quick reminder, Figma is a software company that helps companies make software. So we file this under the very top of the hierarchy of the economy. It's a very large market that Figma addresses and helps its customers address as well. Fast, agile development of software is very much a growing need. So a little bit about Figma's stack. Like every software company, especially subscription software, what becomes really important for them is growing the breadth and depth of what they do. That's especially early on in a software company's journey, the most important part of them gaining traction and getting sticky with their customers. So they actually have a pretty good platform already. Everything from the original ideate step, where a company is thinking about an application and what it would like to accomplish, visualizing that, actually building it, and then finally shipping the software. And we'll get into this a little bit here before we talk about the company's first report as a publicly traded company. Let's talk about some of those new products they added during the last quarter, Q2, and then the subsequent IPO just a couple of months ago. This is taken from Figma's developer event. On the bottom left is this new product called Dev Mode MCP. We'll get to that here in just a moment. And then on the top right, they show some of the new products they developed and launched. Briefly here, we'll start with the bottom right. They did make a couple of acquisitions in Q2, which they told us in the IPO filing in the S1. Acquisitions, they're going to take some swings, especially with things moving so fast in the AI market. And so they did that with the purchase of Payload, which is a CMS software or content management system. If you've worked on websites before or have your own website, CMS is probably something you interact with very frequently. It's how you upload content to your website. So they acquired Payload, and that is going to be integrated with Figma Sites, which we'll look at here in just a moment. And then in the AI department, Modify, this AI startup that helps developers use AI to code up different features in different sites. So I think, Casey, when we did the Figma video a couple months ago, which was insane, that one of our most watched YouTube videos really came out of the blue for us, how much enthusiasm there was. But there was a lot of people also critical of Figma because of this AI bit right here.
People feeling like AI would put Figma out of a job, correct?
Essentially, that was one of the top comment themes. So they made this AI acquisition, but I think let's dig into the products a little bit more, because I think there's like some misconceptions about what Figma actually does, because it is kind of the AI disruptor in online content creation, website content creation. It's not ripe for disruption. It's kind of the opposite of that. It's the one doing a lot of cool stuff to make life easier for developing online. So here's a couple slides from the new products that they announced at the Figma developer conference, by the way, called Config, like configure.
Cute.
Yeah.
This first one, called Figma Make, turns written descriptions or existing designs into working prototypes or apps with AI.
Your enunciation on prototypes was top notch.
Yeah, I had to do that. Otherwise, I really botch it. Next one, Figma Draw, made to optimize for visual designs, freeform creation, and illustration tools that turn that into designs.
More AI stuff. Figma Sites, this is the CMS acquisition they made, would get integrated into this part, Figma Sites. So this is after a website has actually been launched. Companies can then continue to design, publish content, make new stuff on the site. This one's interesting. This is another post-launch product.
Figma Buzz, create visual assets at scale without compromising the brand consistency. Again, another image generation tool for marketing.
Yeah. Once you build the app, that's nice.
Marketing built in. You don't have to recreate every single item in your brand.
You don't build it and people just automatically come. It's not Field of Dreams. You got to market. So
That's our problem.
it's an end-to-end platform, and they have lots of AI already here to speed up every step of this process, including this product, which I think is especially interesting. And I think we'll get into this with the financials as well here in just a moment. But what is MCP?
MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. So you can connect your design in Figma to AI coding tools. So you design, you get that prototype ready, and then that's connected to an LLM and helps you with the coding of that design or that module.
And in this case, Figma's Gen AI product is housed where?
On Amazon AWS.
So the takeaway here, if you don't own Figma,
You could own Amazon.
Figma spending something like $100 million per quarter on cloud. So money into AWS's pocket as Figma expands. MCP, pretty cool stuff. This is very powerful, especially if someone is not just doing design mockups, but actually putting code into Figma and then attaching that to the MCP. The code generator gets really especially powerful, but Figma able to work with even those that don't know coding and able to spin things up very quickly. It's a pretty cool platform, one that we've been a bit of a beneficiary from ourselves. Dylan Field on the earnings call, I think it just goes to show that what we've said in the past, earnings calls are also marketing as well. The CEO used Figma slides throughout the presentation and did a live demonstration of all these tools. So pretty interesting earnings call. You got the full spectrum of Figma experience, not just the financials, but you got product demo as well.
And here's just a quick overview of the very first quarter that they reported publicly. Q2 revenue, $250 million. Year-over-year revenue growth was 41%, 24% on adjusted free cash flow margin. So they're doing quite well. And we'll briefly show you some of the details that were included in that deal now 3 years ago from Adobe, when Adobe was attempting to acquire Figma. And the price tag at that time was $20 billion, which seemed very high.
Figma was a fraction of the size it is now.
Exactly. It was tiny in comparison to where it is right now, 3 years later. But let's take a look at their market cap right now. Currently, over 26 billion is the market cap. Enterprise value, over 25 billion. So was it worth it? Was it worth 20 billion?
Adobe certainly thought so. Obviously doesn't matter anymore because it didn't happen. and Figma pocketed $1 billion cash for the acquisition not getting approved. But the point here is Figma, at that valuation, which seemed to be the market's anchor when the IPO buzz started, the stock has now kind of come back down closer to that. Based on where Figma is at today, you just said 250 million in quarterly revenue. They're on pace to do $1 billion this year. We were going to buy it at the IPO, and then all the craziness happened. I think we just are content to be patient, wait and see what happens. A little more on the financials. Another interesting point here, Casey, we've got CapEx and internal use development costs highlighted. What's up with that?
Yeah, this is a good point because when we think about software companies, maybe we don't think about capital expenditures. Like that actually means hardware of some sort. That means physical assets. And Figma spent $1.9 million in CapEx in this last quarter. You can see their capital expenditures in the past number of quarters as well. So this isn't just software development. They're actually having to spend money on actual infrastructure for this business. And that's actually what's happening with a lot of so-called asset-light businesses.
Yeah, including with their cloud infrastructure partners like Amazon AWS. So obviously Figma is not going to do all the hardware investing. In fact, this is 1.8, 1.9 million for the quarter. It's a very small capital expense, but I think it just illustrates what we talked about with the synopsis video and our presentation last week. We've been mentioning this, that historically, if you started investing in your journey, maybe within the last 5 to 10 years, when you look at SaaS companies, you don't see a CapEx line item. You definitely see the capitalized internal use software development line item. That's different. It still is a capital expense for a software company, but not the CapEx line item. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. And this is why the cloud infrastructure providers are spending so much money, because somebody has to provide that infrastructure for a company like Figma if they want to do nifty things like that MCP, model context protocol, with the LLM that can connect to the user's device, the user's data, and the tool that resides on their computer and also in the cloud. There's a lot going on behind the scenes to make all this happen. And so it's just an interesting side point here that illustrates why there's so much CapEx going on from a cloud infrastructure perspective. For Figma, they did say expect profit margins to fall below where they had them stated in the IPO filing. They see a lot of potential for growth. We already mentioned the acquisitions they said that they were going to take and that they made a couple of them in Q2. Here's the guidance for Q3 and for the full year.
Your revenue is expected to be 264 million at the midpoint. For the full year, over 1 billion. Operating margin between 88 and 98 million. So this implies 33% year-over-year revenue growth for Q3 and 37% full year revenue growth at the midpoint.
So a slowdown from the last quarter. Margins are taking a hit as they go after this growth. That's not a bad thing. I think they definitely, especially given the valuation that they have right now, I would fully expect them to get aggressive with trying to grow and maybe even use the stock as a type of currency to make some purchases and to continue to gain market share against companies like Adobe. This is a company like Figma's opportunity, and we have a lot of discussion about Adobe. It's the gold standard for a lot of companies and a lot of creators around the world, the de facto gold standard. But Adobe took that for granted for many years, especially during the 2010s. They were mostly consumed with making a transition from legacy software, perpetual licenses to cloud-based. And, the door has been open to someone being able to wiggle their way in and take some share from the creative types out there. So I think where it pertains to investing, though, the valuation is high. And so we're just going to chill for now and wait and see how it goes. I don't know. If we were going to buy, though, we talked about this, obviously, because we said that we were interested in buying Figma and fully planned on buying. Didn't happen. At this point, what would we do if we wanted to buy right now? Cash burning a hole in our pockets for Figma stock.
A DCA.
How big? Huge.
Not a huge DCA. If we were going to purchase Figma, we would use a DCA, but a very small DCA. This would not be growing to 5% of our portfolio over the next few months, or even 1% of our portfolio. It would be a very small DCA.
And that's a good point from some on the server. Like they DC'd and like after a year, it becomes a very large position. And that's dangerous. That's kind of not the point of a DCA, especially one like this where the valuation is probably going to be elevated for a long time. You can afford to be patient with this one. 2020, 2021 IPO vibes with Figma in the aftermath of it. Definitely be careful with this one at this point after the hype.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like this video, and follow us over at chipstockinvestor.com. Check out Semiconductor Insider. We have some really exciting stuff coming out in the fourth quarter of this year, and I think you're going to like it. So make sure you follow us. See you all again soon here at Chipstock Investor.